really change much as far as the impacts from potential flooding rainfall, but each day a little different story with Sally and some drier air on the western side of it and a little bit of shear and a lack of overall organization and some upwelling, all contributing factors to get these winds down to 80 miles per hour sustained. It's still a substantial hurricane. It's still a Category 1 hurricane. It's not a tropical storm, and the structure looks fairly prominent that it will come ashore pretty much as a hurricane tonight and tomorrow, and this thing is just going to drag in here. Unfortunately, the forward speed is still really slow to the northwest at only 2 miles an hour. Interesting, the pressure down to 982, so we've seen some pressure falls, yet the winds have decreased steadily through the day, and a lot of that because of the lack of organization overall with the system. We don't have that clearly defined eye with Sally. So that's it on satellite imagery. It is meandering to the northwest at 2 mile per hour forward speed. Really isn't going to get it anywhere very quickly. And we are seeing some bursting of convection on the northern flank, which means we'll get a corresponding increase in rainfall along the immediate coast in Baldwin County, South Mobile County, and also across the Panhandle here over the next couple of hours. You can see how the radar reflectivity is much higher now near the coast where we're seeing that burst, and these bands will propagate some away from the center, so I expect eventually the rain to pick up a little closer to Interstate 10 and also up into Baldwin County. We're also seeing what has been some really impressive rains across the Florida Panhandle. For more on that, let's send it over to meteorologist Matt Barentine. Matt is looking in on these rain totals, and it looks like so far the Panhandle has seen some of the highest totals, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. Right along the beaches there especially, that's where some of the biggest rainfall has happened already with the system. And this is the way it was going to work out. I know for a lot of folks it's just drizzling at your house, very light rain, like where is this at? It's just a hurry up and wait kind of thing. Eventually, when those rain bands do work their way to you, they're going to be there very heavily for a long amount of time. And that's already happened at some of our beach areas. There's the radar a little bit closer in, and you can see down along the beaches some very heavy rain already falling. And that's leading already to some pretty decent or pretty big actually rain totals. I'll kind of go in here and you'll see that these are the rain totals here in around Fort Walton Beach, over around Pensacola Beach, over around Perdido Key. We're already talking of 6 to 7 inches of rain, folks. That's nothing to sneeze at, but you go up just a few miles and watch what happens. 3.5, 2.5, and then you get down to about 1.5. So you don't have to go very far to find much smaller rain totals, and that's just the factor of how slow this thing is moving. And of course, how slow it's moving is also a big factor in how much rain we eventually get. And I want to show you this here. Look offshore here. There is this huge bubble out here. That is 12 to 15 inches of rain out there at the top of the scale. That's what's falling out there, and rain is still falling out there. So it kind of gives you an idea of the possibilities once all this does move ashore, how much rain we're going to see. I mean, that is just a massive area of more than a foot of rain that has fallen out there over the Gulf of Mexico. So that's what's coming ashore. Eventually, that's what's going to cause us flooding problems. And that's what we're going to be dealing with tonight, going into tomorrow as well as these rain bands wrap on through.
Yeah, let's take a look at what's happening with the track too, so you can get an idea of where we expect the greatest impacts. And unfortunately for us, it looks like this is ours to deal with. I mean, if you look at the cone, it's pretty much our forecast area. I mean, we're on from George County, Mississippi to Okaloosa County. So the idea here is that somewhere across our part of the Gulf Coast, the center is going to come ashore. The greatest likelihood would be either Mobile County or Baldwin County based on what we're seeing with the current forecast. And what's happening is a little trough is swinging in. That should begin to pick it up, and we will see a gradual increase in forward speed. There's not going to be much motion between now and 7 p.m. You can see it's just going to drift a little to the north or the northwest. Then overnight, in a 12-hour period, it should make a pretty good substantial move here. We're thinking it'll move about 50 miles or so and end up around the mouth of Mobile Bay or somewhere close to the Mississippi-Alabama line, or perhaps Perdido Key. After that, it will begin to increase a little in forward speed. By 7 o'clock tomorrow night, the official track from the National Hurricane Center has it up Interstate 65. But this is not set in stone as far as the times of arrival and exactly where it's going to come ashore, because we have a weak steering environment. And so it could be delayed. Some of the models, like the European, don't have it actually making landfall until late Wednesday night or early Thursday. We'll have to see how this plays out. That would be the worst case scenario, because as Matt was talking about, the primary, most intense potential impact from this system is going to be flooding rain from fresh water from rainfall. And so we don't want a storm that's just creeping in. Now, there are a couple of models that take it across the panhandle, but just about all the models have centered up on Alabama for the possibility of landfall today. We're starting to see a little more uniformity to the models, and it is closer here. You can see a lot of the lines here, Mobile County or Baldwin County. So that's the likely scenario at this point. As far as impacts, by far, we've reduced to the wind and the surge impact a little. Surge, we're thinking 4 to 7 feet. We backed off on the 6 to 9 feet, okay, because the winds are just not as strong. Yesterday, we were looking at a 100-mile-per-hour Sally that could have increased to 110. Well, going to reduce the surge threat some, the wind threat while still elevated, and we still will have likely some power outages in the area. That is also a little lower. Tornado threat, we're going to be watching that through the day. We're going to be in the northeast quadrant today and tonight, and we're under a tornado watch. We may actually be under the threat of tornadoes all the way into around lunchtime tomorrow, depending on when it comes ashore. Also, flooding, very high, still have an extreme impact from flooding. So that's an update here on Sally. We'll have another update at the bottom of the hour as we continue to monitor the situation with Sally, and we'll be building towards our newscast from 4 to 6 p.m. this evening with full coverage.